Hey Bart, congratulations on the documentary.
Oh yeah, I'm eager to see it. I haven't seen it. I was interviewed for it a while back, but I'm eager to see how it all comes together.
Yeah, so talk a little bit about the original, how you and then how you got involved with this documentary.
So I was in RAD, which was shot almost 40 years ago, and even to this day, it still amazes me the number of people that are like 40 to 50 years old who they grew up watching this movie, and that was back in the day when the movie only stayed in the theater for a couple of days, but it did big business from Blockbuster Videos. And a lot of people went down to the store and they rented that VHS and wore those videos out. So I meet lots of families who guys who were like, maybe 13, 14 years old, and now all these years later that resonates with them because it's a love story. It's a story about a guy, independent guy going against the big bad corporate culture and overcoming the odds, and has an incredible soundtrack in it, and some pretty exciting videos. So our director Hal Needham knew what the formula was to get a pretty good that type of audience, and so since then the documentary's been made, and like I said, I've done some interviews for it, but I have no idea how it's going to look. So I'm very eager to see it on March the 20th. This they're going to re-show Rad again in 700 theaters, and then also show the documentary as well. So it'll be fun.
So talk a little bit about what your role was in RAD. So for people who haven't seen it, get a little bit of a sense of what you were doing.
So my background, of course, I was an Olympic gold medalist in gymnastics, but Hal Needham, who is the director of RAD, he saw me during the Olympics, and he thought I might be a good character for his movie because there's a big scene in the movie where a bicyclist, actually does a full backflip, and he thought, oh, not just gymnastics on a bike. I got to call that Bart Conner guy. So he called me and offered me a part in the movie. I hadn't acted, I hadn't really had any interest in being in the movies, but everybody when they're done with their Olympic careers, kind of looking around to find out what they're going to do. So he called me and asked me to come in and do the shot. So I did, and I loved it, everything about it. And it's kind of funny because there were distinct groups, like tribes. There was the production team, there was the actors, there were the BMX pros, and there was me. I was none of them. I was just the Olympic dude who came in and had a few lines here and there. And it just still amazes me to this day how many people come up to me and they just have profound memories of when they were maybe a young man, like first trying tricks on their bike, and the movie really connected with them. So it's kind of blows me away that it still has some relevance all these years later, but it makes me very happy.
Did you do the actual bike tricks?
No, I didn't. In fact, obviously, almost everything was done by the pros because the Hell Track was the famous racetrack in the movie, and it was outrageous. I mean, even when we shot up in Canada, in Calgary, and when we got to the set, all the pro BMX riders, they looked at that thing and said, "No way, we're doing that." I mean, that's nuts. And I think that was kind of pure Hal Needham because Hal was an old Hollywood stuntman, and he was a bit of a daredevil, and he thought, nobody's going to want to watch a movie about guys just riding around. This thing has to be radical. And that's what he came up with, this huge 30-foot drop in. And nobody wanted to do it until one kid stuck a ladder up against the wall, brought his bike about halfway up, and jumped on his bike and dropped in. And he goes, "Oh, I didn't die." So they kept going up a couple of steps more on the ladder. And finally, one of the riders just went off the top and went 30 feet straight down. And that was the first one. Then once he did it, everybody else had to do it. So I think that's part of the thing that make the movie fun. It's kind of dangerous, extreme, and every kid who had a bicycle, and played on a ramp, sort of envisioned what that might feel like.
Yeah, yeah. Talk about the similarities between gymnastics and riding. I mean, gymnastics, every time I see gymnastics, I'm like, that is super dangerous. Like all the stuff I'm like, I'm glad I'm not doing that. I'm like, I'm sure I'd break my
Well,
neck the first time.
yeah. I always thought that gymnastics was one of the original extreme sports, that's for sure. And I actually blew my knee out doing a gymnastics dismount about 3 weeks before we made this film. So I called Hal Needham. I said, "Hey, I'm out of your movie because I blew my knee out. I just had a 5 hour reconstructive surgery and I'm in a leg immobilizer for the next 10 weeks." And he goes, "Oh, you'll be fine. Just come up here. We'll figure it out. We'll give you some Percodan and you'll be able to do it." and, and that's
Those
how
are the
the old
days.
Hollywood stuntman mentality. So the first day I showed up on the set, I show up on crutches, and the whole crew looks at me like, "What happened? What's going on?" And I said, "Didn't Hal tell you? It's like 3 weeks ago I had major surgery." He goes, "No, he never mentioned anything." So Hal says, "Oh, we can shoot around it. We're Hollywood. We'll figure it out." So most of the scenes in the movie, except towards the end, I'm seen from the waist up because I literally had like an immobilizer, like a cast on my leg for 10 weeks and wasn't able to do hardly, I couldn't even walk without a limp at the time. And yet they shot around it enough and had enough good editing that it wasn't obvious to people.
I'd love to ask you a few questions about your Olympic journey because you were a big American sports icon for a long time, still are. Um, Talk a little bit
Thank
about
you.
how you first got into gymnastics.
So I grew up in the Chicago suburbs. We had a YMCA not far away that offered gymnastics, and I went over there. The first time I went, it was like all girls and me, and I'm like, "Oh no, this is not for me." I was about 5 years old. It was like an acrobatic class, and then a few years later, I went back, and there was a whole bunch of boys doing gymnastics, and so we had a pretty good little team, and I worked my way up through the Olympics in 1976, where I met my lovely wife, Nadia Comaneci, and I stuck around for the 1980 Olympics, which was the year that we unfortunately boycotted the games, and I was not able to compete in Moscow. So my third and final Olympics was Los Angeles, 1984, where I won two gold medals, and I just stay involved in the sport now. I have a gymnastics academy here in Oklahoma where I live. We have about 1,000 students, and we're very proud about how that's going. And then I also do some work as an announcer for ESPN. So I cover a lot of women's college gymnastics for ESPN.
What was the, must be hard to say, but what was the biggest moment in your gymnastics career that you'll always remember? Was it winning the gold medal or was it something else?
Oh, there's lots of things. I had to overcome a lot of odds, and a lot of obstacles because of injuries. By the time my career was done, I had about 9 or 10 different surgeries. I tore biceps, I had a knee issue, elbow surgeries, and other things. So I was pretty beat up. So coming back from those injuries and being on the '84 Olympic team with some of my buddies from UCLA and Nebraska and me, I was the lone Oklahoma Sooner on that team. We won the gold medal over the Chinese team, which is the world champs, by 7/10 of a point, and that has never been done before. So that's probably the crowning achievement. But for me, it was made more impactful because of the things I had to overcome to get to that point. Because I was getting older and I had several injuries, and it took a lot of grit and a lot of persistence to stick it out. But I'm glad I did.
Hmm. What physically would you recommend for a young guy or girl starting out in gymnastics? What should they do to prepare for to be a competitor at that level?
Well, obviously the kids who do well in gymnastics at the highest levels are typically a little bit smaller. I am 5'6", 150 pounds. And they're strong and they're agile, and those are the kids that succeed. But what we do with our program here, we invite everybody to come try gymnastics, even if you're going to be 6'8". Do gymnastics for a few years because it's a great foundation for all sports. It gives you the strength, the coordination, the agility, the balance, all the things that you need to succeed in any sport. So I think it's a great foundation for all sports, and I think it's one of the reasons why we have so many students in our program. Only a very small handful will make it to the highest level, but all of them will have benefited from just some basic gymnastics training. And we're seeing a lot of that in extreme sports now. You see it in skating, you see it in surfing, you see it in skiing, you see it in BMX. Now, they're all doing flips and twists and stuff, and all that's based on, gymnastic technique.
All right. On that note, thank you so much for taking time to talk to us today.
Enjoyed speaking with you, Eric. Thank you.
Great. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching the You Interview channel. With over 3,000 original celebrity videos, we have one of the largest collections of celebrity interviews anywhere. So remember to like and comment on our videos and subscribe to the channel. If you want to get more involved, you can become a member of the channel. Membership has its perks. You can see exclusive celebrity videos and get the opportunity to ask our celebrity guests questions. We can't wait to hear from you.